And welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to the grand finals of Code for Giants Cup number 11, your bi-weekly dose of Brazilian StarCraft. Oh, it's been an intense tournament so far. We've had players rise and fall. We were featuring Shaq T earlier, featuring Dorminoko as well, and many others. But now we're down to only 2 players remaining, a Zerg and a Terran. And one of them will be this week's champion. And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner, bottom left-hand corner even, of Alcyone, we have our Brazilian Zerg player, the Red Zerg representing the CranKy Ducklings. He is one of our own. It is Erik. And spawning in the top right-hand corner, we have as opponent, we have the Brazilian Terran player, the Blue Terran, representing the Platinum Heroes. It is INexorable. And if you're in the chat, predictions are open. Place your bets on who you think will be our champion this week. Will it be Erik or INexorable, Zerg or Terran, Brazilian or Brazilian? Ah, crazy. Best of luck, Pappy. Best of luck with those predictions as we are settling into our own match. Again, we were able to feature Erik against Zerg against Protoss, but not against Terran yet, not tonight. And what I will say is that Erik's weakest matchup is typically against Terran. Against Zerg and Protoss, Erik is a lot more chaotic. He's a lot more creative and innovative as well. He can be, just a ball of chaos and can be quite unrelenting in those matchups. Against Terran, Erik is a little bit more standard, a little bit, still has his own wild builds. He's forced to be even more creative against Terran. So we'll see how this does turn out. But I'm still expecting at least one more normal standard game in this series from Erik. We'll see though. We shall see. As we're settling into the other game for now, just a Rax expand from INexorable. Likewise, Erik going for a hatch gas pool. Likewise, standard opener as well. So far, everything looking as it should. My apologies. Actually, this was an earlier gas from Erik, so link speed is already on the way. 6 things in production as well. Interesting. With this does mean that the third base is not going to be delayed. Erik, he gets it down just in time. That was close, though. That was very close. Third base has been placed. Again, link speed well underway. Erik does pull out a gas, for the most part. Link's dancing with the Reaper. And again, link speed is going to be finishing up a lot earlier than normal. Far earlier here. Behind this, INexorable going for a third CC. 3 CC setup. Also, I didn't get to mention it. Okay, good morning, Yaku. Good morning. Yaku, have you slept? do I want to know the answer to that question? Did you sleep today? Did you just wake up, or have you always been awake? Oh, no. Good to see you, Yaku. Good to see you. Good morning. Good morning. Ah, no. As Lings, they do bypass the Reaper. Getting across the map. Again, link speed is about to kick in. Just enough for the Lings to threaten that mineral line. There's one Marine to defend. There's Hellions on the way, but there's still a couple of seconds off. Still a couple of seconds away. Looks like the Hellions will pop out just in time. One SCV goes down. One Mule as well. Some okay pickoffs, but at least INexorable will defend. It doesn't lose a Hellion. He will survive. Just the one Worker and Mule. Behind this, Erik droning up. Spreading out his queens, settling in back at home. And INexorable is interesting. So it is going to be a third CC, and I assumed it was going to be 3 CC into something like Banshee, but no. It's going to be a 3 CC 2-on-1. Second Rax is on the way, Stim as well. Instead of working towards a bio timing, towards a Stim timing. Meanwhile, Erik is taking extra gases and rushing into a lair. That is a much earlier lair than normal. That was around a 4-minute lair timing. 4 gases already. Are we feeling 2-base Muta? Now, what's interesting about Erik is, if you recall, we spoke to Erik about his builds, and 2-base Muta is something that Erik actually wasn't quite fond of, and instead he was going 2-base Swarm Host for a time against Terran. I'm curious, what's it going to be, the Spire or the Infestation Pit? I haven't seen Erik go 2-base Swarm Host in a year. It's the last time I saw it was 2023, a long time ago. Bathing Nest has been placed. It's going to be Ling Bane, and it's going to be Spire, right? It's going to be Muta. I mean, if this was any other player, that's what I would say. Okay, there we go. And it is going to be the Spire. There we go, being placed at the natural instead of the main. So Erik, he does second guess where he wants to throw it down. But okay, so 2 base meter gas is being taken. I'll be honest, I have to remember, but after this game, I do want to message Erik, and I do want to ask him if he's still going Swarm Host against Terran. Because he had some wild builds last year. Great. Some crazy builds. Box being knocked down. Do have our Raxes getting up and running. It looks like the beginning of an 8 Rax, actually. As we have 5 Raxes so far, but it looks like INexorable may just go for a 3-base all-in. That is quite commonplace on Alkionis, specifically on this map, and that is where I'm concerned for Erik. So, the problem and the scary thing about rushing into muted tech like this is that it delays your upgrades. It delays your Evo Chambers, Carapace, Melee, all your upgrades are going to be far delayed in favor of mutas. And on top of that, if INexorable is in fact going for a 3-base all-in, then mutas are the last thing that Erik's going to really want here. Scan in the main does miss the tech, does miss the Spire. Wise move for Erik to hide the Spire at the natural instead. And I'm waiting for extra Raxes. So far, only 5. But no extra gases are being taken, and that is a lot of Marines! Marines are moving out, and mutas cannot touch this army. We need Ling Bane! Uh-oh. Banelings are morphing in. There's a handful of Banelings ready for this, but only a handful. And INexorable is committing. There's a lot of creep. Is going to buy some time. Ling Bane mutas amassing. Banelings waddling in. Rolling into the mineral line. INexorable. Does he notice? Oh, he does! 5 SCVs. Not bad. 6 SCVs. 6 SCV kills. And INexorable, instead of pushing in, he's going to be clearing up creep, which means Erik has time to build up more Banelings. He has time. More Banelings are morphing in. Looks like Erik should have enough to defend. And he's going for a counterattack with a Mutas. He's counterattacking. Erik has to be so careful. I'm loving the pre-split. Oh, but is it enough? It looks like it barely is. Yeah, Marines, they still maintain themselves. Mutas, they hit the 3rd base. SCVs are going down. And INexorable just doesn't have enough to keep going. And forced to fight against the mutas. 1 muta goes down. 2 mutas get picked off. Not bad. 2 mutas falling, but INexorable, he's forced to race back home. Just did not have enough to keep going. Did not have enough to commit to an all-in. And now Erik is buying more and more time to morph in 14 Banelings. So Erik, he has been successful here. And just keeping the army pinned, containing the Terran, and building up at home. Morphing in more Ling Bane. Again, that's a lot of Ling Bane. Mutas, they catch a tank. I please the 5th. Excuse me? Excuse me, Yaku? Who are you pleasing? Ah, no. Ah, not like this. Not like this, Yaku. Not like this. As Erik is double expanding, getting his 4th and his 5th. Getting into his upgrades. Again, his upgrades are going to be far more delayed than the upgrades of INexorable, but they're getting there. He is working on them. Mutas, they hit the natural. Once again, just keeping INexorable pinned back at home. 4 CCs on the way. INexorable is expanding. He is not going for an all-in, but he's pinned at home. He is stuck back at home for at least the near future. He is catching a Widow Mine. Going to be catching out the job in the middle of the map, but actually going to be going down. Massive pickups. Medevacs do fall. Marines as well. But the supplies are still quite close, and INexorable is going to be mixing in some Widow Mines. So not just purely Marine. Widow Mines in the mix. Likewise, Erik investing into Infestors. Getting into those Fungals. INexorable now taking a 4th. Both players have droned up. Counter close. Erik gonna try to engage. Yeah, some decent Bailey connections, whatever to say. Mind shot did not go off. 2-2's now done. INexorable does clear up a lot of creep. And Erik, now that he's gotten into Hive Tech, is getting into Ultras. Still doesn't have the best melee upgrades for the Ultras or Carapace, but we'll at least have them available. Against Mass Marine Windowmine, it's going to be ideal. There's still a very low Marauder count and no Ghosts. So Ultras, they can be effective. You're just busting into the main. Drop across the map. Up. Is going to be cleaned up though. And again, Erik, he's just buying time for those Ultras. Erik even skipping out of those Evo Chamber upgrades just so we can, I mean, I guess have more gas for more Ultras. And there it is, 5 Ultras on the way, kindness plating as well. Erik is maxed out. But INexorable is able to successfully defend. Catches more mutas. Very nice catch. But here come the Fungals. But again, Inex able to establish a 4th base. Maintains economy. Inex close to maxing out. Is close. His army does have to retreat. And when it comes to the two main armies clashing, I actually want to favor Erik here with these Ultras. Again, we spoke about it earlier, but where are the Marauders? There's 2 Marauders in this army. That's barely anything. Now soon to be 3. And the Ghosts are popping out as well, but we're not quite there yet. As they catch out the Metamax, massive pickoffs. 2 full Metamax go down. Mutas into the main. And Erik, he hits the 3rd at the same time, and INexorable moving out towards the left-hand side. The mineral line under fire. Ultras pushing forward. GG gets called. We're going to get the final fight, and Erik will take game number 1. Whew. GG. Just pulling Inex apart with those mutas, buying so much time. Again, there was a window where Erik was vulnerable, where we saw Inex move out initially, but alas, it looks like Erik was able to buy enough time, was able to build up barely enough Ling Bane, did survive that kind of initial buy and move out, and took it from there. GG. GG, well played. It was quite risky. It was quite risky to double down on mutas like that, but did get away with it. Hold on. I need to message Erik. I did ask him. Are you still going to base Stormhost in ZvT? Oh no. Oh good, oh good. Okay, we're getting into game 2. And Erik, he's Erik is letting us know that again, the last time I saw Erik go to a Stormhost was last year, and he is letting me know that that it takes a lot of control and the build itself is really complex, so he hasn't done it in a while. It takes a lot to get going. For those who don't know, it's 2-base Stormhost with Nida Swarms as well. Or I saw it with Nida Swarms, with like Dropper Lords and Queens everywhere. Like it's true. Like it is very. It takes a lot of attention, takes a lot of micro, takes a lot of APM. Maybe that's the way of putting it. There's a lot of moving parts to it. So we might see it during this series, maybe. I look forward to it. Regardless, we're getting into game 2, and spawning in the top right-hand corner of Ghost River, we have the Brazilian Terran player. The blue Terran representing the Platinum Heroes, it is INexorable. And spawning in the top left-hand corner, we have as opponent, we have the Brazilian Zerg player. The red Zerg representing the CranKy Ducklings, it is Erik. Here we go. Here we go as we are settling in. Erik going for a gas first build, going gas into pool into a delayed expansion. I mean, we saw in the previous game that Erik did prioritize Ling speed, but this is a very delayed natural. Erik droning up to 18. Wait, what? Okay, getting up to 18 workers, just now taking his natural base. Again, a very delayed expansion. And we'll see what Erik can get done with this. Ling speed is being researched. Erik pulls out, so he pulls out of gas. Getting into Ling speed, and we'll see if he can make use of those Lings. Yeah, Erik was saying that the build might be, the 2-base Stormhost build might be even better nowadays because of the new Infestor. As you're curious now, the Infestor does spawn in immediately with a fungal. Does spawn in without needing the upgrade. As opposed to previously. Meanwhile, INexorable does a CV scout. With that scout, he confirms that the expansion is late, but Erik is droning. Like, the mind games are real. Basically, INexorable, he moves out, he spots how late the expansion is, which means he's expecting aggression, so he pulls away. Meanwhile, Erik has been happily droning. He does have some things on the way now, but INexorable back at home, bunkers on the way. Throws down a bunker, massing up Marines, taking this very seriously. Now, I assumed that Erik would just be droning, and he has been. He's taking a third. He's only making a handful of Lings. So it's going to be 8 Lings in total. I'm hoping that Erik doesn't invest too heavily into these Lings. Yeah, he's droning, which I do appreciate. So Erik is just droning up, and INexorable is reacting quite hard. Oh. The observer window? As we need to hit the natural. Ah, that is on Twitch. And it is showing. Oh, I think you're referring to every now and then on Twitch it shows like banner ads where like a banner shows up like under the video or on the side of the video, and I think that like makes it smaller. But I think that's what you're referring to, I think. Otherwise I do see Erik, the initial Ling run by, didn't really get much done, kills 1 Reaper, not much more. Behind this, Roachborn has been thrown down, gases are being taken. Erik is going to attempt to get into Roach play. Before that does occur though, INexorable's moving out with Hellions, but the Roaches, they pop out just in time. Just in time, the Hellions are denied. They are zoned away. As INexorable, he is going to be forced back. And Erik can now freely drone. So despite the interesting start of the game, Erik is droning. That is going to be a bit of a later lair timing here. Just under 5 minutes. Lair is now on the way. Erik has made roaches, but these are just safety roaches. They're just enough to keep up and to deflect the Hellions. Overlord Scout gets eyes on the follow-up. It was 3cc. 3cc 2-on-1. Once again, for those that are curious, this is a very similar build to what we saw in the last game. Very similar. Something interesting here is that we are getting up to 5 Raxes before the starport, which again I do think this is what INexorable went for in the last game, but a very delayed starport. And this should lead into an 8-racks. I know that I said an 8-racks previously in game 1. It kind of looked like it was leading that direction. I'm still standing by that here in game 2, but we'll see. As INexorable did eventually get a 4th CC last game, but that may have only been because of the Munis. Because the game did progress. As basically INexorable, he's delaying medevac production in favor of more Marines, which means that INexorable is going to be stuck at home a little bit longer. But when he does move out, it's going to hit like a truck. So he's on those 5 Raxes. Scan reveals a 3rd, reveals saturation, gets eyes on some roaches. Sure, INexorable satisfied to see saturation. Devastation bits on the way. This should be for infestors, as Erik is going Roach Ravager, investing into +1 range. And infestors are going to be quite necessary here for Erik to defend against a bio push. The weakness of Roach Ravager is the lack of splash damage. And that's where infestors come into play. INexorable still not taking gases, but I'm keeping my eyes open, eyes peeled for extra Raxes. But now Armory is on the way for 2-2. INexorable building up, getting ready for his bio move out. Okay, as INexorable is expanding, is taking a 4th CC. The Vials up! They don't connect. Nice dodge from INexorable, chasing this down. Where are the infestors? There are none. Ooh, no infestors here for Erik. He's getting caught out. Roaches are falling left and right. The army sims in, and without infestors, without banelings, oh, INexorable, he can keep going. He can break through. Getting some of the Ravagers. They will pile down the tank. Ooh, tank goes down. Nice pickup. But again, what about the man with gun? What about the Marines? What is the answer to them? As it looks like we are barely running out of Marines, Erik will barely hold on, just barely. It was a costly hold. That was what, 22 Roaches going down in a Ravager for 32 Marines and a tank. If Erik hadn't sniped that tank, the game may have just ended. And the game may still end. It's INexorable. He's still rallying across the map. Erik trying to hold on. Wow, does force a pickup. Erik, he's holding. There we go. Finally, infestors on the way. We could have used them earlier, but regardless. 2 infestors, 2 Vipers, Hive is done. A Lurker den has been thrown down as well. Erik is taking, and Erik did survive. Behind this, INexorable did expand. 4th CC. Again, he's not going for a 3-way soul in. 2-2 is almost it's halfway done. Scan reveals the 4th, and it's still a very tense game state here between our 2 players. It could still go either way. INexorable clearing up some creep. Hydro production has begun. Vipers are out. And the first wave of Lurkers are being morphed in as well. Getting into the first wave. But is it going to be enough? INexorable making his way across the map, catches out some of these Roaches. Lurkers do morph in. Here come the Vipers. Vipers have arrived. They get a yoink. They get 2. Catch both tanks. There's still 1 tank left. Upon seeing this army, INexorable is going to rotate. Another tank, no! Tank gets caught out. Erik does get all 3 tanks. Now it's just a bio army. The fungal lands! Oh my god, an insane fungal! The army gets locked down and is forced to pick up. The Lurkers were a little bit late to arrive. Lurkers do not have their upgrade. They have range, but they do not have the adaptive talents. That may have just saved INexorable. Parabomb across the map, Lurkers burrowing in. When is Erik overextending? Bile does connect, and there's not enough bio here to really keep going. Erik reinforcing with slow Hydras. Let's go. Hydras have arrived. Erik trying to go for the tank. Will not get it. Erik bleeding out bleeding out a little units. Has to get out of here. We'll pull away. INex holds. And it's been very scrappy. In the previous fight, Erik did lose all of his infestors. It would have been worth it if the fungal growths had killed the army, but alas, INexorable survived with most of it. Survive. INexorable taking another expansion, getting a 5th. Erik is droning. Let's go. Getting up to 80 workers. Both players are maxing out. Erik did rebuild in Vipers, I believe. Yeah, is it back up to 3 Vipers? 3 Vipers up and running. Expansion is spotted. But Erik is stuck on a lot of roaches. Even though Erik is maxed, like, this army is subpar. And he needs to trade out. We'll catch 3 tanks. 3 tanks going down. Roaches rattling into an army. Again, Erik does start +1 melee, so he's trying to work out of Roach Ravager or Roaches into Lings. Into Ling Bane. See if he can get there. Erik trying to rotate into Ghost though. Does join 2 of them. Snipes are going up. Boys being rallied in, and it looks like the lurkers are being taken down one after the other. There's 2 lurkers left. They barely hold on. Oh my god, Erik, he takes the fight. With 3 lurkers left, the snipes barely were not enough. CC goes down as well. Then you only got another ghost. The individual abductions on the ghosts. Erik popping off, pulling back. Gonna be able to rebuild. Still in a very high Hydra count. For a moment there, I thought it was Broodlords. I was shocked. I was like, wait, what? What's going on? But Erik does remax. Liberty being an annoyance. Spores are morphing in. Erik going right down mid. Pushing towards the natural, and INexorable out of position. It's going to be a kill on another CC. Lurker Zubar. Oh my god! Jeez. This is some crazy spine shots. INexorable, he cannot push into this. Not head on like that. And GG gets caught as he gets caught out of position. And INexorable, he's locked out of his own natural, out of his own main. And Erik will take game number 2. GG. GG, well played. Erik will take the second game. Again, it was very tense is what I will say. Like, Roach Hydra doesn't really trade too amazingly, but Erik, he was barely able to get into his infestors, into lurkers, into vipers, and was able to out-trade his opponents, more importantly, able to out-position. I think that was maybe the standout factor for Erik, is time and time again, he was able to rotate and hit a location that INexorable wasn't able to keep up with. INexorable, he was missing the rotations, he was missing the army movement, and he was punished for it quite hard. That's how INexorable lost an expansion, that's how he lost tanks, that's how he lost Ghost, how he lost the game. And there at the very end, it was, you know, just barely north of the camera, but Erik, he'd rallied into the natural in the main base, and the lurker was just zoning away the ghosts, zoning away the entirety of the main army of INexorable. GG. GG, well played. That was the kill move that Erik was looking for, and now we're getting into game 3, potentially the final game of the series. I'm hoping we have a back and forth. I'm hoping that INexorable can bring it back, and I do believe he can. Again, that last game was still quite close. Was close. We'll see. We'll see if INex can bring it back here, or if Erik takes it all. Here we go. as the third game is going to be on Oceanborn. Hopefully not the final game, but we'll see. We shall see. As spawning in the top left-hand corner of Oceanborn, we have the Brazilian Zerg player, the Red Zerg, representing the CranKy Ducklings, one of our own. What does he stand for? He stands for endurance, righteousness, intellect, and kangaroo. It is Erik. And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the Brazilian Terran player, the Blue Terran representing the Platinum Heroes. It is INexorable. And Inex is sending out not just one SCV, but 2 SCVs. We are looking to spice things up and go for some cheese, go for a proxy. The Raxes are being thrown down, INexorable going for proxy 2 racks. I'm assuming just 2, yeah, 2 Raxes. The goal here is to throw down bunkers, is to lay siege upon the natural, and to macro behind this. This is not an all-in, it is an aggressive and cheesy start, that is true. But INexorable can work into a CC behind this, into a factory, and get into a longer game state after taking an economic lead, ideally. Meanwhile, Erik, for the first time this series, hatch, gas, pool. Standard open out of Erik. In games past, we have seen earlier pool timings, earlier gas and earlier spawning pool, but not this time, not on Oceanborn. And we'll see if Erik can hold, defend, and make it out of this, and survive. We shall see. Now, Erik is leaving his second Overlord parked outside of his natural, so when the SCVs arrive to throw down bunkers, Erik is going to be aware. He will be able to scout and will be able to respond. Ooh, I do like this INexorable. He brings a third SCV. Now, because a third SCV has arrived, this makes it look like it's proxy 3 racks, when it's really 2. So yeah, we do kind of try to sell a false story here, a false narrative to Erik. 3 bunkers are thrown down. Erik throwing down the spine crawler is going to try to fight for his natural. Spine is on the way. Second spine crawler as well. Let's go. And soon to be a third spine crawler. So 3 spines, 2 queens, sorry, 1 queen, and mass ling. The second queen is delayed in favor of the spine crawlers. So just 1 queen to work with. Things are building up. Bunkers are getting up and running. And INexorable does get eyes on those spine crawlers, but if he tries to push forward and get on top of them, then he's going to expose himself to the lings. Spine crawlers rotating over, getting within range of one of the southern bunkers. Again, no marines in the bunker. They do rotate over. And what's important here is that all these spine crawlers are only within range of 1 bunker. Spine crawler is going to go down, the first one at least. The other is going to be forced back. More lings are building up. So far the repairs are solid. Keeping the bunker up and running. Hatchery's getting low. Spine repositioning. Reburrowing. Hatchery goes down. And Erik's going for an all-in. Bailey Nest has been placed. Erik, his goal here is to break out. Spine crawler is barely out of range. Up! Barely out of range. Getting free damage. Only 1 spine crawler left. Link speed is done. Erik forced into a 1-base all-in. More bunkers on the way. INexorable has not expanded. He's doubling down. Going for a second line of bunkers. Erik is going to try to break out, but I do favor INexorable here, especially if the bunkers finish. He can just kite back. He can kite back. Here we do have another Rax on the way, another factory. Here we go, Erik. He does try to bust in. Takes down 2 of the bunkers. But yeah, but there's 3 left. Yeah, Erik, he does not have enough. He's being shut down. Only 3 lings make it out. Only 3 lings. And this is how INexorable comes back in this series. Had a rough game 1 and game 2. I mean, game 2 was still quite close between both players. Even game 1 was close, as INexorable almost punished the muta play of Erik. But here in game 3, the cheese does come out on top. Erik tried to fight for his natural, tried to break out. Alas, spine crawlers went down one after another. Lings are not getting much done. Hellions are about to pop out as well. And Erik just doesn't really have much left. Going for a macro hatch. Lings, they will get out. Do step out of the main. But there are Hellions back at home. Lings, they can try to catch reinforcements, but outside of that, I don't really think they can do much. We find the production. Raxes will lift back home. Honestly, if INexorable wanted to, he could have tried to push up the ramp. Like, there's no spine. So I do think that INexorable could have won the game pushing up this ramp. Instead, he's playing it safe. He's expanding. He's walling. Jesus, he's walling up heavily on one base while denying the expansion. I would have loved to have seen a CC instead of E-base like this, but it's all good. A fusion course on the way. This I was not expecting. So proxy 2x into fusion core is the plan for INexorable. Let's go. Another bunker's on the way. Here we go. Failings are going to try to crash in. They take down 2 of the bunkers. They almost get the 3rd. But again, alas, there's still 1 bunker left. Erik, he gets us around. He's trading as best he can. 1 bunker left. But INexorable, he will clean this up. He will shut this down. Still maintains 2 bunkers. Still denies the expansion. And the BC, it's on the way. The BC, it's coming, Papi. It's coming. Not just the BC. Hellions. I don't think we need the BC. I'll be honest. With no spines on the high ground, we don't even need the BCs. Hellions, they are tempted, but there are Lings and Bailings to punish this. Oh, Hellions gonna be turned away. 2 of them do get surrounded. Nice pickup. Erik does have a threatening enough Lingbane force, but again, he's contained on 1 base. INexorable is looking for proxies just in case, looking for ninja bases. And here comes the BC. Is teleporting in. There's only 2 queens. Only 2 queens to defend. BC right into the mineral line. And Erik going for the last hurrah, the final breakout. Gets 1 of the bunkers, but that's all he's going to get. GG gets called, and INexorable will fight back, and we'll put a point on the board. GG. Whew. GG, well played. INexorable does fight back and does put a point on the board, and that means we have a back and forth, and that's all that I ever wanted. A back and forth series. It's not going to be a 3-0 in either direction, and this could even go to the ace match. Could even go to the ace match here. Ooh. Suddenly, INexorable has momentum. Does have momentum here. And I'm curious what the next map is going to be. I'm curious. Here we go. Lobby's being made. And we're going to be loading into... I'm not privy to the vetoes. I don't really know what was vetoed. We're going to be loading into Crimson Court. Let's go. Crimson Court is coming up next. And we'll see how INexorable will approach this. I mean, Crimson Court is an interesting map. Again, as we mentioned before, we have seen a lot of late game on this map. We've seen a lot of late game. We've seen a lot of split map scenarios just because of the features of Crimson Court. If INexorable wanted to slow things down and get into a longer later game, then he could do so on this map. Otherwise, there is a lot of aggressive potential here from the side of Erik, especially if he does try to take the center expansion and try to get into roach play, for example. And Erik is known for his roaches, very similar to Dark in that sense, but we'll see. We shall see. As spawning in the bottom left-hand corner, of Crimson Court, we have the Brazilian Terran player, the blue Terran representing the Platinum Heroes. It is INexorable. And spawning in the top right-hand corner, we have as opponent, we have the Brazilian Zerg player, the red Zerg representing the CranKy Ducklings. It is Erik. Whatever, let's go. Again, Erik has been a CranKy Duckling for many, many years at this point, of course. One of the OG Ducks from our initial roster. My favorite son. You hear that, Oreo? Shaking my head, shaking my head. Este Oreo. Lattimore. And Erik is going, interesting, going for a hatch gas pool. This time, no earlier spawning pool, no earlier gases. Things are looking normal from the side of Erik. And this time, likewise, INexorable going for a Rax expand. This time, no proxy. No Rax out on the map, no crazy proxy, nothing wild. We're calming things down here on Crimson Court. This is how real macro games look like. You're an animal, Pap. You're an animal. Oh, no. You're like, look, he took a CC at the end of the game. Macro build, Papi. Macro build. True, true. Kappa. As in CC on location, SCV Scout does confirm the timing of the hatchery. INexorable is aware. We do see Erik investing into 6 Lings. Again, he's always a little bit more Ling heavy. Does rush into Ling speed as well. Didn't pull out a gas earlier. Just now pulling out instead. Again, Erik just being secure. Not really sure if INexorable is really one to open up to Rex Reaper. Regardless, Erik just playing it out safe. We do see our dance, our initial dance here between the Reaper and the Lings. Things getting softened up, but Erik does defend. Does defend back at home, INexorable going 3cc. Now, every game so far, every macro game that we've had so far from INexorable, he has gone 3cc 2-1-1 without fail. I'm curious if he continues that trend or if we do spice things up and go into something like a Banshee-based opener instead. Meanwhile, early roaches. Let's go. 3-minute roach horn here from Erik. And INexorable, are we going for the Rax or are we going for the Starport? Tech Lab is on the way. And it is going to be 3cc 2-1-1. Oh boy. So because of this, we're going to have an abundance of Marines to work with, and of course Stim as well, but we will be lacking, you know, more higher tech units like Banshees, tanks. The Hellion count's going to be a little bit lower as well. I am going to be concerned for INexorable. I mean, he should be active soon with the next wave of Hellions, and it's going to be on INexorable to scout and confirm the roaches. Overlord does get eyes on the second Rax, so Erik is aware of the 2-1-1. Roaches are amassing. And additional roaches are on the way as well. Erik will supply blocked for a moment, but is continuing with his roaches. Hellions are poking in. Will be stowed away by the queens. And Erik is going for the all-in. He's spotted! Erik is not joining his cutting workers at 32, and it's nothing but Lings and Roaches rallying everything across the map. He can morph in Ravagers once they do get across. But it's all or nothing for Erik. Does have a third, but just for Larva. And INexorable, he does react quite hard. We have a wall of bunkers on the way. He has Hellions, he has submarines. Not much else. Stim is not yet done. INexorable is vulnerable. And here comes Erik. Does push forward, takes on the first Hellion. Boys are being pulled. Not too many Lings to work with. The Roaches are going down. Bunkers are not yet done, but they're about to finish. The bunkers are about to finish up. Again, more boys being pulled, buying time. Lings are being cleaned up as well. We're down to 4 roaches. Catching more reinforcements though. Up, trying to get into the bunker. Yeah, the bunker is finished. The Marines are safe, and INexorable holds. INexorable does defend against the bunkers. They finish up just in time. And the question becomes, was that enough damage? I would say not. 11 SCVs went down, which is good. Don't get me wrong, it's good. You know, there's lost mining time, mules as well, and hey, we're even getting more SCVs. Wait, what? This should not be happening. INexorable, a little bit asleep at the wheel here. 5 more SCVs. Okay, 5 more workers for 2 roaches. 6 more workers for 2 roaches. Yeah, INexorable, a little bit preoccupied, was maybe assuming that there were going to be reinforcements at the natural. INexorable not taking those 2 roaches seriously. And suddenly, what should have been only 11 worker kills now turns into 17. Okay, Erik. So initially I was going to say it wasn't worth it because there's the 3rd base. There's the 3rd base, which means triple SV production, triple mule production as well. And the 3rd base now being taken, so even though INexorable lost a lot of workers, he can replace them. That still is the case, but now he has more to recover. Meanwhile, drop across the map. Headed for the main. Erik getting to 1-1. Still droning. Erik does spot this, but doesn't have much to work with. The roaches do respond, but the mineral line is exposed. These are slow roaches. Getting 2, 3, 4, oh my, 6 drones. Oh my god! The target firing. 7 drones. 7 workers. Oh no! 7 workers go down, but alas, the medevac rallies into the queens and the spore. Erik will shut down the drop. At least there is that kind of solitude to him. Does at least gain that value. Drop here towards the natural. This time roaches are ready. Erik will defend. Still a very scrappy game state. Erik does have the worker lead, but INX, of course, has mules. It's not that clear cut. Erik trying to keep up. 4th base now being taken. Erik knocking down those rocks, making sure this location isn't abused either. And INX is working on his own move out. This time with Stim, +1, combat shields, tanks as well. INexorable is building up. Just going for drop play for the time being. Initially going for drops. Erik trying to maintain with Roach Ravager. 2-2 has just begun. Because of the drop, this position is a little bit more vulnerable for INexorable. Erik is going to be denied. I mean, he is spotted, but again, there's not that much fire here. INexorable getting caught with his pants down. The bars they connect. They take out one of the tanks. 1 tank does fall. 2nd tank as well, but there's a 3rd tank behind this. And even if INexorable holds on, he's losing every single SCV. 21 workers going down. Mules as well. At the same time, drop across the map. Gets a handful of drones. But reinforcements, they pop out just in time. And Erik, he will defend. Will bleed out 7 drones in the process. But that's still a better trade for Erik. Just barely better. And he's getting ready for wave number 2. He's getting ready for that 2nd wave. Still that tank on the high ground. There's 1 more tank on the low ground. Bunker is ready to be used, but alas, the tanks are a little bit too far back. At least one of them is. The other can help support. Erik mining at the 3rd. Forcing a lift. Erik trying to get high ground vision. Ooh, the Overseer does pull back. And here come the Biles. Yeah, Erik now within range. Biles will connect. They take down the 1st tank. And now the 2nd. And Erik, he's snowballing out of control. INexorable was just an unfortunate timing for him to move out with that drop when he did. Lost his first round of tanks, now he's losing his second, and Erik, he's snowballing out of control. We did have a back and forth series, and I would say that game 1 and game 2 were far closer, but here, Erik, he does have momentum, does deny mining, 4th base getting up and running, that is true, but that's still just so much for a Ravager. Brings down another tank. The tank goes down, 21 more SCVs. Erik just rallying in, trying to brute force through his way, trying to brute force his way through to the main, and he will. Knocks down the depot, camp of the production, points are being pulled. And the last separation hold here for INX. He's trying to hold on, Papi. Comes in for the surround. But the target firing from Erik, he does focus down to every single marauder with those roaches. Does have too much. GG, well played gets called, and Erik will take the series 3-1, becoming this week's Code for Giants Cup champion. GG. GG, well played. Congratulations to Erik as he does claim the series. My condolences to INexorable. He did put up a fight, and again, game 1 and game 2 were far closer, especially considering that Erik was almost punished for going into mutas in game 1. Course, in game 2 was almost punished as well, as we had some very scrappy fights, very scrappy games. Here we saw Erik kind of in his element, achieving a lot more with his roach aggression. You know, each time he pushed in, even though he would never really kill INexorable, he would cripple the economy. And I'm still reminded of those 2 MVP roaches in the main base getting 6 worker kills, despite the fact that they were on just a slither of HP. Those roaches had no right to get that many worker kills. It was insane how much damage they dealt. It was impressive. GG. GG, well played. It was impressive. This week we were missing some key players as well. This time there was no Yan. There was no Master either. So we were missing some of the other heavy hitters in Brazil, but we still had the other favorites like Erik, INexorable, Kamikaze, and Shakti as well. So I do appreciate that we were able to embrace them with that. GG. GG, well played. Congratulations. Erik will claim victory here, and I'm sure we'll see both of these players and many more in 2 weeks. Again, this is a bi-weekly tournament. Every 2 weeks we do host the Code for Giants Cup. I say we. Cosmos hosts the Code for Giants Cup. It is a Brazilian-only tournament, hosted and organized by the Brazilian scene. So much love to Cosmos. Obrigado, papi, obrigado. Much love to Cosmos for making this happen, making this a reality. Always a lot of fun coming together with all the Brazilian players and the Brazilian scene. Much love. Much love. GG. GG, well played. No. Otherwise, if you wish to help support the CranKy Ducklings and our channel here, you can follow us. You can follow us on all the social medias. We have Twitter, we have Facebook, we have Instagram, we have YouTube, we have Discord, we have all things CranKy Ducklings in one way, shape, or form. Likewise, you can support us on Patreon, or you can subscribe on Twitch as well if you wish. You can subscribe, you can become a patron, you can get replay packs from this very tournament. We do send out replays if you want to play like Erik, if you want to be an animal. Likewise, if you want to learn how to cheese like INexorable like he did in game 3, you can do so. You can do so with those replays if you wish to study them. We do have them, we do provide them to our subscribers as always. And yeah, with that, thank you. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks so much for the support. Again, this is our only cast of the day. Yes, like we usually have multiple casts throughout the day, and it can get quite intense. But today, just the one. Because of that, I'm tempted to ladder, but I also barely slept. Oh god, I barely slept. I am quite tired. Despite that, I do want to get in at least a couple of hours of ladder, so may as well, papi, may as well. Okay. So despite being tired, we may as well just ladder for a couple of hours, and then we'll nap. Then we'll get some sleep. Get some sleep later on. But that's going to be the plan. It's going to be the plan. If you're curious about our next broadcast here on the CranKy Ducklings, our next broadcast is going to be tomorrow. It is going to be in over 24 hours, just over 24 hours. We're going to be live on this channel with the Pondcast. curious, what is the podcast? It is our weekly roundup or week recap show. It's a bit of a podcast for SC2 where we just go over the events of the week and any interesting news that has occurred as well, that we can go over, that we can discuss. Again, there aren't really many SC2 talk shows anymore, so we're trying to kind of fill that void, especially because we're in the off season, so there is more free time available to us. There's less casting to do, so again, we do have a slot available to go over things and like a talk show. On top of that, I'm going to be laddering on my personal channel right after this. You can follow me on light_VIP. I do not ladder on this channel. I only ladder on my personal channel. We do leave this channel only for casting, only for pro tournaments, or pro and semi-pro and even amateur tournaments in general. Casting reserved here for the CranKy Ducklings. Sometimes we have some team game streams, but those are a little bit rarer, as a lot of the other Ducklings are otherwise busy and preoccupied, so don't get to team game too often. But yeah, you can follow us over on the CranKy over on my own personal channel. I'm gonna go live after this. I'm not gonna ladder for too long though. Just a couple of hours. Just a couple of hours. Unless I get like my second wind, and keep things going. We'll see. We shall see. Otherwise, thank you for watching, and we'll see you guys tomorrow for the podcast, or in a couple of minutes for a cheeky ladder session. Expect some smoge though, Papi. Expect some smoge, because my brain is not ready for ladder. it'll be fine, Papi. It'll be fine. So I'll see you there over on my personal channel. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. Thanks so much for the support. We'll see you guys tomorrow for the podcast, or during the weekend for everything else. We'll see you guys next time. Until then, thank you for watching. Hasta luego. Obrigado. 안녕 하세요. 감사합니다. There you go. 감사합니다. 감사합니다. See you next time. Ciao.